Folks, strap in, because today we're diving headfirst into the economic dumpster fire that is Britain's Labour government's latest masterclass in mismanagement. Yes, you heard that right, your trusty host at Boss Economics World is back to expose the clownery, the calamity, and the sheer chaos of economic policy that's driving the UK straight into the jaws of recession. And oh boy, do we have a doozy of a story today, ripped straight from the headlines of 2025's freshest economic fiasco. Let's talk minimum wage hikes, payroll taxes, and a government that's tighter with logic than a miser with a penny. Buckle up, because this one's gonna sting. Alright, folks, let's set the scene. This week, Britain's Labour government decided to play Santa Claus, hiking the minimum wage in a grand display of, look how much we care. But here's the kicker, while low-paid workers are supposed to be popping champagne over their shiny new £12.21 hourly wage, the reality is far uglier. Pay growth for these very workers is tanking. According to the latest data from jobs website Indeed, annual pay growth for low-wage positions slowed to a measly 6.2% in February 2025, down from 6.8% the month before, and the lowest it's been since February 2022. So, let me get this straight, the government hikes the minimum wage, and somehow, pay growth for the poorest workers declines? What kind of economic voodoo is this, Labour? Now, before we go any further, let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture here, because this isn't just about minimum wage hikes. Oh no, this is a textbook case of government mismanagement lighting a match in a room full of economic dynamite. From payroll tax hikes to inflationary pressures, to businesses slashing raises to stay afloat, this is the Labour government's very own recession recipe, and they're serving it up hot. So, grab your popcorn, because we're about to dissect this mess from the ground up, layer by layer, and show you exactly how the clowns in Westminster are tanking the economy. Let's start with the headline grabber, the minimum wage hike. On April 1, 2025, the Labour government proudly bumped the minimum wage for workers aged 21 and above from £11.44 to £12.21 an hour. Sounds great, right? A 6.7% increase, surely that's a win for the little guy. Well, hold your applause, because this is nothing but a mirage in the desert of economic despair. Here's the dirty little secret, wage growth for low-paid workers is slowing down. According to Indeed's senior economist Jack Kennedy, low-paid sectors, think retail, hospitality, care work, have been enjoying stronger pay growth than the rest of the market for years. But now, that gap is closing, and not in a good way. Pay growth for these workers has nosedived to its lowest level in 3 years, just as the government's wage hike kicks in. Coincidence? I think not. Why is this happening? Well, folks, it's simple economics, something the Labour government seems allergic to understanding. When you artificially hike wages through mandates, businesses don't just magically pull money out of thin air. They have to find ways to pay for it. And right now, with the economy already on life support, businesses are scrambling to offset these costs. According to Mohammed Jamii, Director of Economic Policy at the Confederation of British Industry, CBI, some firms are having pay rises, from around 5% to 2%, just to cover Labour's new wage floor. So, let me break this down for the regular folks watching at home. The government's generous wage hike is actually squeezing businesses so hard that they're cutting raises for everyone else. Your barista, your shop clerk, your care worker, they're not getting ahead. They're getting stuck, trapped in a cycle of stagnating wages, all because Labour thought playing wage fairy would win them votes. Classic government move, big headlines, zero substance. But wait, folks, it gets worse. Because the minimum wage hike isn't the only grenade Labour's lobbed into the economy. Enter Chancellor of the Exchequer Rachel Reeves, who's decided to hit businesses with a £26 billion, $33.6 billion, payroll tax hike in the form of increased national insurance contributions, NICs. Yes, you heard that right, £26 billion. That's not pocket change, folks, especially for sectors like retail and hospitality that rely heavily on low-wage workers. Now, let's connect the dots here. You've got a government forcing businesses to pay higher wages, and at the same time, jacking up their tax bill by billions. What do you think happens next? Rainbows and unicorns? Hardly. Businesses, especially small and medium enterprises, SMEs, which make up 99.9% of UK businesses and employ 60% of the workforce, according to the Federation of Small Businesses, FSB, are getting crushed under this double whammy. And don't just take my word for it. The CBI, the FSB, and even the Bank of England, BOE, are sounding the alarm. BOE Governor Andrew Bailey and his team are sweating bullets, trying to figure out whether this payroll tax hike will lead to job cuts, higher prices, or slashed profit margins. Spoiler alert, it's probably all three. Back in October 2024, when Reeves first announced this tax hike, business groups warned of sweeping job cuts. So far, those cuts haven't fully materialized, but don't breathe a sigh of relief just yet. Seemanthi Ghosh, a principal research fellow at the Institute for Employment Studies, says businesses are holding off on layoffs for now, but they're clamping down hard on pay rises instead. So, here's the deal, folks, labor's payroll tax hike is a ticking time bomb. It's killing wage growth, strangling businesses, and setting the stage for a full-blown employment crisis. And who's going to pay the price? You guessed it, the ordinary workers labor claims to champion. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, inflation. Because, folks, this isn't just about wages and taxes, it's about the broader economic chaos labor's policies are unleashing. The BOE is already on high alert, watching wage growth like a hawk for signs of sticky price pressures. And guess what? Labor's minimum wage hike and payroll tax increase are the perfect ingredients for a fresh inflationary surge. Here's how it works. Businesses, squeezed by higher wages and taxes, have three choices. 1. They cut jobs. 2. They eat the costs and watch their profits vanish. Or 3, and this is the one they always pick, they pass those costs on to consumers. Higher prices, folks. Inflation. And with Donald Trump's tariff war looming on the horizon, threatening to jack up import costs even further, the BOE is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Just look at the numbers. In March 2025, the BOE's Monetary Policy Committee, MPC, voted against a second consecutive interest rate cut, citing the risk of second-round inflationary effects. Translation: they're terrified that labor's policies are going to spark a wage price spiral, where higher wages lead to higher prices, which lead to demands for even higher wages, and so on. And with the latest data showing UK inflation already creeping up, hitting 2.6% in February 2025, above the BOE's 2% target, according to the Office for National Statistics, ONS, it's clear the flames are already burning. But here's the kicker, while the BOE is trying to put out the fire, labor's busy pouring gasoline on it. Higher taxes, higher wages, higher costs, it's a recipe for stagflation, folks. Slow growth, high inflation, and rising unemployment. Sound familiar? It should. It's the 1970s all over again, and labor's driving the time machine. So, where does this all lead, folks? I'll tell you where, straight into the jaws of recession. And don't just take my word for it. Look at the data, look at the experts, look at the markets. Jordan Rochester, head of macro strategy for EMEA at Mizuho International, is already predicting BOE rate cuts at the next two meetings, citing labor's policies as a key driver of economic slowdown. Why? Because households are getting hammered by higher bills, businesses are getting crushed by higher taxes, and the housing market is tanking thanks to rising stamp duty taxes. Just look at the housing market for a second. According to Halifax, UK house prices fell by 0.9% in February 2025, the sharpest monthly drop in over a year, as labor's fiscal policies choke off demand. And with consumer confidence plummeting, down to -21 in March 2025, according to GfK's Consumer Confidence Index, it's clear the economy is on life support. And here's the cherry on top, the latest GDP figures from the ONS show UK growth flatlining at 0.1% in Q1 2025, down from 0.6% in Q4 2024. Folks, this isn't a slowdown, it's a nosedive. And labor's policies are the pilot, steering us straight into the ground. So, let's wrap this up, folks. What have we learned today? 1. Labor's minimum wage hike is a mirage, doing more harm than good by killing wage growth for the very workers it claims to help. 2. Their payroll tax hike is a time bomb, crushing businesses and setting the stage for job cuts. 3. Their policies are fanning the flames of inflation, risking a full-blown stagflation crisis. And 4. The economy is careening toward recession, and labor's at the wheel. This, folks, is what happens when you let ideologues run economic policy. Labor's obsession with headline-grabbing gimmicks, wage hikes, tax hikes, workers' rights, is tanking the economy, and ordinary people are paying the price. Higher bills, lower wages, fewer jobs, that's the labor legacy, folks. So, to all the hard-working Brits out there, and to all the finance pros watching at home, here's my advice: batten down the hatches, because the storm's coming. And to the Labour government, here's my message: get a grip, get a clue, and get out of the way before you sink us all. That's it for today, folks, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because here at Boss Economics World, we'll keep calling out the clowns, the crooks, and the calamities of economic mismanagement. Until next time, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and stay solvent. Boss out.